Guys, the video you've all been waiting for, the miracle cure to arm pump. Well, I'm gonna cut right to the chase. There simply isn't one. And I wish there were. There are a ton of factors that contribute to arm pump. I'm gonna try to go through all of them today. There are, of course, tips and tricks. There's things that can reduce it a little bit. There's ways to manage it, but there is no miracle cure. If I had to pinpoint one thing that's hindered me as a professional rider, it would be arm pump. You know, the mental game, there's little stuff like that that contribute to it as well, but a lot of my mental issues have come from anticipating that I'm going to get arm pump and just expecting that it's going to happen and kind of dreading it, which is kind of my fault, and I'm sure it only snowballs the effect. But my arms get so bad to the point where I lose feeling of the throttle, the front brake, the clutch. I cannot feel anything on the handlebars. It's on a 450 in Supercross when you're trying to time, you know, within an inch or two with this much throttle, it is really scary and really dangerous. So firstly, I'm gonna break down the reasons why arm pump happens, and then after that, I'm gonna talk about some of the tricks and tips that you guys can do to fix it. Arm pump is, in lack of any technical terms here, it is blood going into your arm, into your muscles, and not being able to escape because the muscle fascia is bound too tight around the muscle, and it doesn't allow that blood to get back out. So it's almost similar to compartment syndrome. And the misconception here is that strengthening your forearm will help with arm pump. People try to give other riders tips on how to strengthen your forearm. That is simply the worst thing that you could possibly do. I repeat, the worst thing. In an ideal situation, you want the weakest, most flexible forearm possible. So the best way to do that is to stretch your muscles. Anyone that's strengthening their forearms is out of their mind and doesn't know what they're talking about, plain and simple. Now, technique can cause arm pump. In my situation, I'd like to say pretty confidently that it's not technique that is my problem, but for some of you, it definitely may be. Ways to fix this is the way you stand up. When you are standing up and accelerating, make sure that you drive your head forward over the handlebars to compensate for gravity wanting to pull you off the back of the bike. Your knees still have to stay back, but your chest and your head should go really, really far forward. This will help if you stand up in a really neutral position and you accelerate, your head is naturally gonna get pulled off the back, putting the weight into your arms. Another tip when riding with technique is try to time when you sit down. So accelerating out of the corners, if it's smooth enough, try to get up to speed while still in the seat so you can put that weight into your legs, into your feet, as opposed to standing up too quickly and putting all that weight immediately into your arms. Obviously, with technique comes gripping with your knees. A big tip with that is if you drive your toes inward, it will help you grip stronger with your knees as well. Ideally, if you're riding the right way, all of that grip strength is coming from the core down. So that should alleviate pressure from your arms. Another big reason, and I can definitely say that this is something I'm guilty of doing, is you need to breathe when you ride. I know that sounds obvious, but if you guys kind of go through a mental picture of what a lap looks like, think about where the scary sections are, where the sections are that make you maybe a little bit nervous. Anytime you get nervous, you're naturally tensing up and doing that quick moment of holding your breath. Now in Supercross, those moments come all the time. And sometimes I find myself holding my breath for half a lap, 3/4 of a lap, and then all of a sudden, like I just take this giant exhale and I'm like, holy cow, I didn't breathe from the time I went over the finish line and I'm 6 turns past that already. So that's a really good way to get behind the 8 ball. And once you start holding your breath, it's very hard to recover from that. And the lactic acid is going to start building up really quickly, and honestly, once that starts happening, it just the clock starts ticking and there's not much you can do. Breathing helps with blood flow, so the more consistent you can get with your breath, the better the blood is going to be able to circulate to all your extremities, the better you're going to feel on the bike. Another thing for why you might get arm pump, a lot of it could be genetics and your body build. Now, there are exceptions to this. A guy like Weston Pike, he's definitely built heavier upper body, and Weston told me he's never struggled with arm pump. Now, I don't know if he's telling the truth, but if he is, that's definitely surprising. Most motocross guys are built like twigs. So if a guy like Marvin Muskin, if you saw him with his shirt off, Adam Cincerello saw him with his shirt off, they look frail. So the chances of them having too much muscle in their forearms is probably 0, which surely helps them. Now, somebody like me, my dad is 64 years old. He's still absolutely shredded. Now, it's cool for aesthetics, but all of my muscles just balloon up so quickly, and I develop muscles so quickly that even when I'm not in the gym, not doing even so much as a push-up or a pull-up, I still have a really muscular upper body, which I know for sure does not do me any favors at all. There are a few guys that you see built kind of that way in the sport. Eli Tomac would be one of them. If you saw Tomac with his shirt off as opposed to 90% of the rest of the field, he's definitely built a little bit more muscular with his upper body, but there's no secret that Tomac is a guy that struggles with arm pump a lot. That's why you see Tomac show up and demolish everybody, and then the very next race, he's in 9th and just kind of riding around. That, I know he hasn't come out and straight up said it many times, but that's arm pump, plain and simple. Bike setup could get you arm pump quicker for sure if you have a setup that is too rigid and really deflecting off of each obstacle. That surely is going to tense up your arms quicker than it normally would. And then on the other end of that, if your suspension's too soft and you're bottoming off of everything, forcing you to hold on to the bike too tight, that's going to give you arm pump quickly as well. Now, for most people, I would say that bike setup is not even a factor. I don't like when people start tailoring their bikes too much to what they think is right, because unless you're one of the top guys out there, it's likely you're doing something wrong and it's not the bike's fault. Now, for solutions, like I said, no miracle cure, but here's a couple things that I do and that I've tried in the past, and I kind of let you know my routine and what seems to work the best. So I have gotten arm pump surgery. I don't know, let's see if this will focus. It's hard to even see. Right here you can see a scar, and then can't see it, it's somewhere small. So I got this surgery done in 2017. I went to a doctor who a lot of top guys have gone to. This doctor had arm pump surgery before. I'm not gonna throw out names because I know this is pretty confidential stuff for a lot of these guys. They go in orthoscopically, so it's just a little incision on both arms. And basically what they do is I think they just start cutting open slits in your muscle fascia. And what it does is they say my arms exploded because there was so much tension that when they put the slits in so my muscle could breathe and expand, that it was like a balloon going off, and my arms were exploding. So they did that. I took about 6 or 7 days off the bike and then started riding again. The first, let's call it 2 months after I got the arm pump surgery, I was invincible. I couldn't get arm pump if I tried. My arms felt like jello 100% of the time. It was unbelievable. I want to say I got the surgery in October, end of October. So then I went November and December feeling like a god on the dirt bike, and holy cow, I'm going to go into the season and demolish everybody compared to what I've done, because I've always ridden and raced with arm pump, and I'm like, wow, if I don't have arm pump, the possibilities are endless. And of course, at that 8-week period, as the scar tissue began to build back up and the muscle fascia began to get tighter again around my muscle, it all just came back. And now 3 years later, it is right back to where it was before I got the arm pump surgery. Now, did I do the surgery the right way? Was my post-op 100% correct? I don't know. I'm open to the idea of doing the surgery again and trying to be a little bit more deliberate with breaking down the scar tissue post-op so that the scar tissue doesn't build back up as quickly or at all. Because I know there are other riders that I'm pretty sure have only got this surgery once, and it seemed to help pretty dramatically for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Is it a miracle cure? No, but does it help those guys a lot? Yeah, for sure. So one tool that I had, and this again isn't a miracle cure, this is the Forearm Strong if you guys can see it. All this is basically a device to help stretch your forearm. So you'd place it on your forearm and do a couple stretches this way and that way with it placed on a couple key locations, pressure points on your forearm. It's just a fancy way to stretch your forearm. Does that help? A little bit. Yeah, stretching your forearm is the move. I think Lee, who designed the Forearm Strong, is a smart guy, and he knows that by stretching your forearm, you're gonna weaken it a little bit, and that is the direction that you wanna go with this. Another thing that I do, and this is crazy, I have my whole, this is a routine that I do before I go out and ride and after I go out and ride. I should probably do it every single day, even on days that I'm not riding, just to try to continue to break down the scar tissue, to stretch my forearm muscle and all that good stuff. This is a gua sha stainless steel tool. What this is designed to do, I'm pretty sure, now keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, I really don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to any of the stuff that I'm showing you, but this is designed to break up scar tissue, pretty sure. And you'll see a couple guys, I'm pretty sure Alex Martin uses this before he rides. When you get done using it, you don't have to apply much pressure at all. And when you get done, your arms are gonna look really red because what it's doing is, I think that it's breaking up your capillaries. Not sure if that's accurate. Pretty sure it's accurate. And breaking up scar tissue. Now this is something that I wish I had post arm pump surgery because I think that this could have really, really helped with the scar tissue. And I mean, it's kind of painful when you do it, but it also feels good at the same time. I combine this with this. I don't know if you can see it. Amp Human Performance. This is a PR lotion with bicarb. So your body naturally produces bicarbonate and this helps deliver more to your body, I believe. Let me read the label. Yep, and what that does is it neutralizes acid, which is big, battle fatigue, and reduce soreness. So the neutralize the acid is the big one. Now I'm pretty sure pro cyclists use this on their legs, but this is something that seems to help a little bit with the forearms. It's very expensive. I'm pretty sure you could find it on Amazon. It's not cheap. And for how much you pay for it, and if you're consistently using it, I would say that it doesn't work enough to be worth it. But I put this on my arms, and then, why not? I'll do a little bit right now. Yep, should probably shake it. So put a little bit of this on your arms. It looks like gross. And then just gonna kind of massage that in. I rub it in just a little bit, and then I would take this and kind of do my thing with this, making sure I'm getting it all over my forearm and in the spots where I feel like that arm pump is the worst. And lastly, just an overall full body warm up will help with your arm pump because your body will be more efficient at burning fat. It'll be more efficient at being able to maintain a lower heart rate. Everything works more efficiently if you're properly warmed up. So make sure you guys take that 10 or 15 minutes to get warmed up prior to a race. And that could be a warm up that doesn't even include your forearms in it, but that still is going to help. A lot of getting arm pump is also just seat time and being comfortable on the motorcycle. So if you're riding once a month and that's the most you can get out on a dirt bike and you struggle badly with arm pump, there are all these little things I just showed you to fix it, but listen, you're gonna get arm pump. The top pros ride 4 to 5 days a week, every single week, and they never ever stop that routine unless they get hurt. So they're just naturally more comfortable on the bike, they're breathing better, they're holding on more loosely, they're not getting arm pump as quickly. When they do get it, it's less severe, and they can also ride through it easier because they're used to just riding all the time. This is something I struggle with as well because I only ride, a couple times a week if I'm lucky, and that's 1 to 2 times a week. So I think for me, I'm always kind of on the edge. I'm always a little tense, holding my breath a little bit more than I should, and a lot of that is due to lack of seat time. So when I was editing this, realized I definitely missed a couple things, so now the continuity of the video is all screwed up. Different shirt, lighting I'm sure is different. So what I decided to do is I asked everybody on Patreon what their questions were, and I'm just gonna do a quick Q&A. So I figured this is probably the best way to end the video in case I did miss something or in case there's any specific questions. So Dennis asked, exercises outside of riding to help with both strength and fatigue. Again, everybody's different, but for me, I really chill out and try to do anything upper body. I would say strengthen your legs, work on flexibility, so any type of yoga is good, and get a bicycle. Just pedal that bicycle. Leg strength is gonna be your biggest factor to try to take away from you death gripping and relying on upper body strength. Thomas asked to hear the story of worst arm pump you've experienced during a supercross race and how you addressed it while out on the track. I think I covered that a little bit earlier in this video. Just a matter of focusing on something else other than your arm pump. Focus on your breathing, focus on trying to hit your marks and hit your lines properly. It's really just a management thing at that point. It's not fun, but if you could distract your mind, that usually helps. Another big thing is when you're in the air or going down a straightaway, anywhere where you could open up your hand, and I even sometimes shake your hand out, but open your hand up and I'll stretch my forearm on my handlebar when I'm in the air, if you're comfortable enough doing that. Jacob asked, any certain foods or diet help the day of riding or racing or days leading up to? A lot of people will argue certain foods to stay away from, like steak the night before. I have a big steak the night before. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I don't notice any difference myself. Same with hydration. A lot of people say hydrate, eat a banana. Huge misconception. Arm pump is not a cramp. So lack of hydration is likely not a factor, although being hydrated never hurts. And eating a banana, even if it were a cramp, eating a banana isn't gonna solve a cramp. For me, if I do have a cramp, I'm experiencing Charlie horses in my legs or anything like that, sodium is what's gonna help most, and you're getting mostly potassium out of a banana. So have a salt pill, something like that, if you are dealing with cramps. Somebody on here also asked about cramping in fingers. That could potentially be a cramp, so sodium, having some type of supplement will help with that. Jamie asked, so I don't get arm pump, but my fingers start to go numb after 4 or 5 laps. Is this from riding incorrectly or more of a carpal tunnel type issue? I actually have the same issue sometimes, especially if it's cold. It could definitely be some type of carpal tunnel issue. I know I have a lot of sensitivity right here kind of near the joints in all of my fingers. And I want to say that's probably not normal, but think about how many years I've been like kind of death gripping a handlebar. Even right now, just kind of waking up, but really tender right here. So maybe Jamie, you're experiencing the same thing. My guess is that's not arm pump related, and I don't know the solution to that. Joshua asked, in an interview with Jet Lawrence recently, he said that he's never ever experienced any kind of arm pump. How cool is that? Does that sound possible to you? He also said that Hunter has never experienced it. I wish. I mean, if I hadn't ever experienced arm pump, my career would have looked a lot different. It's like I said in the beginning, it's held me back more than absolutely anything. I would say that is possible. I've had other riders tell me the same, that they've never had it, or if they have had it, it's been a very minor case. I think that's just due to genetics and body type, and so that could be mental and being relaxed on the bike as well, where I'm naturally an overanalyzer and overthinker, which causes me to be a little bit more nervous when I ride. And I'm sure that all adds to it. Alex asked, I have always experienced arm pump really bad in my forearms. I'm stocky build and until recently lay brick for a living. I noticed in one of your last videos you mentioned people with a lot of muscle in their arms tend to get it worse. Do you have any specific stretches that would help? So just like I said at the beginning, I mean, all those tools that I use will help you for sure, Alex. But if you have naturally more of a stocky build and you do something that involves a lot of upper body for your daily work, it's gonna be an uphill battle. Casey asked, I've heard that more caffeine before and during riding can help. Any truth to that? Again, anything diet related for me hasn't seemed to make a huge difference in this. I would urge you guys though to experiment a little bit, because everybody's body is different. So try to experiment with different foods and different hydration levels the night before the race. Experiment with different foods and hydration levels the day of the race as well, and just maybe keep a little log and see what works for you and what doesn't. You guys were watching this video in hopes to probably find that magic miracle cure, but I hope this enlightened you and gave you a bunch of knowledge about arm pump that you didn't have before. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Patreon channel. Click the link below. Only $2 a month. I communicate with you guys every single day on there. You can send me personal messages. I respond right away. You can actually even send over your riding footage and I could break down riding footage for you. So for $2 a month, I mean, I'm kind of cheating myself on that one, but take advantage of that. And I'll see you guys next video. you